Hey, what's going on, y'all? Welcome back to the channel. Today's video we're going to be talking about the beginning of sub 30-minute 5K training. So a majority of this video is going to cover the workouts and the actual training needed in order to run a sub 30-minute 5K. And then by the end of the video, I'm going to give you guys a suggested 2-week training outline based off of how flexible your schedule is. You know, if you're somebody who has a pretty tight schedule and can only run maybe 3 or 4 days a week, or if your schedule is a bit more open and you can run 5 or 6 days a week. Just so we're all on the same page here, let's give ourselves a specific time goal for this training. So let's say we all want to achieve a 29:45 for this video. Before you do start this training and before we get into the nitty-gritty details of the training, I do believe that there are a few benchmarks that you have to hit in order to make the transition into this training a bit easier. So let's talk about those benchmarks now.
Benchmark number 1 is to run a mile in 8:45 or under.
So I do believe that 8:45 for a mile is a pretty realistic time frame to be working with. Obviously, if you've run faster than an 8:45 mile, you're in even better condition to be able to achieve a sub 30-minute 5K. And you could probably even run a sub 30 if your mile PR is around 8:50 or 8:55. Once it gets to around 9 minutes flat and past that, it gets a hell of a lot harder because your stamina has to be a lot stronger. So just because you can only run a 9:05 mile doesn't mean you can't run a sub 30-minute 5K. It just means that the margin for error gets a lot tighter, right? Because as a newer runner, you're more likely to fall off pace. So if you only run, say, a 9:05 for your first mile and then drop back to a 10-minute mile for your second mile, you've got to go back down to that 9:30 average to give yourself a legitimate shot at breaking 30.
Benchmark 2 is to be able to run 2 miles in 18 minutes and 30 seconds or under.
Now this 2-mile benchmark of 18:30 just speaks more to the idea of margin for error, right? Because if you can run 18:30 for 2 miles, which would be a 9:15 average, your cushion for that last mile or 1.1 mile is over 10 minutes. And that's just going to give you space in the event that you're really hurting that last mile. Now you're probably saying to yourself, wait, Robert, 9 plus 10, even if I ran another 10-minute mile, that's 29 minutes for 3 miles. I'm good, right? Well, yeah, 29 minutes for 3 miles, that's fine. But remember, a 5K is 3.1 miles. And that extra tenth of a mile could be the difference from you breaking 30 and not breaking 30.
Our last benchmark here is to be able to run at least 45 minutes non-stop.
Now this last benchmark not only is to improve your stamina, but it's also to help you mentally, right? Being able to tell yourself in that last mile of a race, hey, I've done workouts like 45 minutes nonstop or 50 minutes nonstop, or hopefully even 60 minutes nonstop if you can get to that benchmark. So being able to tell yourself in the last mile, hey, what's one more mile at a 9:30 pace? It's just going to help you not only stamina-wise, but also mentally. One more quick disclaimer, folks, before we get into the training. I do believe that this would be a good outline if you're somebody who has a PR of, say, like 31:45 or under. But if your PR is over 32 minutes, I would refrain from this training and I would work to achieve that PR of under 32 minutes first. Now you can still apply a lot of the same principles from this video to your training, but it's just something to keep in mind as far as the exact paces. So there are 3 foundational types of runs in any training plan over the course of a week or 2 weeks or whatever your training outline may be. And that is the easy run, the speed or interval workout, and then your long run. So let's get into all 3 of these. So for the easy run, I believe it's the first run you should be doing at the beginning of the week. And if you are somebody that has more flexibility with your schedule and you're able to run 5 or 6 days a week, I would try to do at least 3, maybe even 4 easy runs a week before really starting to incorporate speed work into the mix as well as your long run. But an easy run is basically just a run that's at conversational pace. If you can run with a buddy, that's even better. But I would say as far as paces, it would be about 1.5 minutes to 2 minutes slower than your goal race pace. So in that case for us, if we're trying to achieve a 29:45 minute 5K, we should be running at about 11 to 11:30 minute pace on our easy runs. Now, ideally, you would be separating your tempo workout and your speed workout into two distinct workouts. But to save some time, what you can do is drop the intensity or drop the volume of both typical tempo workouts or typical speed sessions, and you can combine the two. So instead of having, say, one workout day on a Tuesday that's a 5-mile tempo, and then another speed day on a Friday that's maybe 10 or 12 300-meter repeats, you can combine the workouts into two, and you can do something like 3 1-mile repeats at tempo pace with 60 to 90 seconds rest in between each rep. And then you can finish the workout off with, say, 4 or maybe 4 to 5 200-meter repeats with a 90-second rest in between each. Now, tempo pace kind of ranges depending on which coach you talk to, but in my personal opinion, I think 20 to 30 seconds slower than your goal 5K pace would be a solid place to start as far as a tempo pace. To give you an idea as far as a perceived tempo pace effort, imagine you're doing the workout and you're trying to have a conversation with somebody. You're only really able to get out a few words or maybe a short sentence before really feeling it. Now, for speed sessions, especially with beginners, what I like to do is I like to give them a pace that they can handle for a mile or their 2-mile pace if they're a really new beginner. And some of those workouts would include like 200-meter repeats or 300-meter repeats, maybe even 400-meter repeats if they have an athletic background to start off with. As far as a perceived effort of these speedier sessions, what I would suggest is if it's fast but relaxed, meaning they aren't an all-out sprint, you're not heaving for air when you're done, you're not tightening up in your shoulders or in your back or in your upper body. It's fast and relaxed. It's smooth with a good stride pattern and not feeling all out. So I'm going to finish off the rest of this video inside because it was starting to get pretty windy outside and I didn't want to screw up the audio too much. So the last weekly component of this training plan is the long run. Seeing as how a majority of you watching this video will be newer runners, I would suggest starting off at about 45 minutes for your first long run and then add 5 minutes for the next 2 weeks. So your second week would be 50 minutes and then 55 minutes your third week. And then your fourth week, I would drop it back down to 45 minutes so that your body can better adapt to the training that you're giving it and that it'll be a little less stress on the body. As I mentioned earlier in the video, the main principles of the long run is to increase your stamina and really just to build the mental capacity as far as, being able to tell yourself that you can push through when you're starting to get uncomfortable. So now that we have all of this out of the way and you guys have a rough idea of what a training outline should be at the bare minimum, let's go into an actual specific outline that I would write for, say, a 2-week cycle.
So the first thing I like to do is to schedule my off days. So for this first week, we're going to go with Sunday, Wednesday, and Saturday. For week 2, our off days are going to be Sunday, Tuesday, and Thursday with a potential race Saturday. So for week 1, I'm going to try to pair up my easy day with my speed session. That way in the back half of the week, I have a little bit more flexibility as far as which day I want my long run to be. If you do have time in the week, you can always do an extra easy run like I mentioned earlier. For the easy run, a simple 3 miles or 35 minutes should do the trick here. For your tempo speed session, a workout you can do is 3 1-mile repeats at your tempo pace with 60 to 90 seconds rest in between each. And then after about a 3-minute break, you can run 4 200-meter repeats at your 2-mile pace with 90 seconds rest in between. Your long run for this week should only be about 45 minutes unless you're feeling good and healthy, in which case push for 50. In our second week, we're going to bump up the mileage a little bit. Instead of 35 minutes, we're actually going to run 40 minutes or 4 miles. This week's tempo and speed session is also going to see a bump up in volume. We're actually going to do 4 1-mile repeats at tempo, same 60 to 90 seconds rest, and then we're going to add on 2 more 200-meter repeats with the same 90 seconds rest in between. So I actually kind of wrote this out of order in the video, but what I was hoping to say was run a 50 to 55 minute long run or do an easy 20 minutes instead of your long run, and then the following day, try to do a race or a time trial to see where you're at. Now, if you can run 5 to 6 days a week, I would just take off both Sundays and then the first Saturday. Next, I'm going to schedule my long run for the first Friday and the second Saturday. Next, I'm going to plug in my speed sessions for Tuesday of the first week and then Tuesday and Friday for the second week. And finally, we're going to throw in all of our easy days, which are just Monday, Wednesday, and Thursday of both weeks. So we're going to do a pretty similar outline as the 3 to 4 day week. So your first run is going to be 35 minutes or 3 miles. And then on Tuesday, your speed session, you're going to run 3 1-mile repeats at tempo with 60 to 90 seconds rest in between, followed by 6 200s at your 2-mile pace with 90 seconds rest between. So Wednesday and Thursday of this week are just easy days to set yourself up and recover by the time you hit your long run on Friday. Wednesday is 45 minutes or 4 miles, and then Thursday will be 30 minutes or 3 miles. And then for your long run on Sunday, you're just going to run 55 to 60 minutes or 5 to 5.5 miles. So if you've been running for 6 days a week, I'm under the assumption that you're in pretty good shape and that you've been able to stay healthy for a few weeks leading up to this. So Monday's workout is going to be 40 minutes or 4 miles easy. Wednesday will be 45 to 50 minutes or 4.5 miles easy. And then Thursday will be 35 minutes or 3 miles easy. For Tuesday's speed session, you have 4 1-mile repeats at tempo with 60 to 90 seconds rest between each. Then 6 200-meter repeats at 2-mile pace with 90 seconds rest in between. Friday's workout is 2 2-mile repeats at tempo with 90 seconds rest in between. And then 4 200-meter repeats at your 2-mile pace with 90 seconds rest also. And lastly, your long run of 60 to 65 minutes easy or 6 to 6.5 miles.
In addition to these 3 minimum runs that you should be doing every week if you want to achieve a sub 30-minute 5K, you should also be doing some ancillary work either before or after each of these runs. And ancillary work would include core strength, some general strength work with resistance bands, some agility drills, and also some static stretching at the end of workouts. I personally recommend doing general strength work after your hard days, so after your speed sessions, and maybe after your long run, once you adapt to all of this training that's being added on. And I would also incorporate the agility drills before your speed session to better warm up your fast twitch muscles. And then as far as the static stretching, you should probably be stretching, say, 3 minutes for every 10 minutes you run. So if you run 30 minutes, you should be stretching for at least 9 minutes. My next video will focus primarily on the ancillary work that I'm talking to you guys about. So I'll show you guys the agility drills that I do before my hard runs or my speed runs. I'll show you guys the stretching routine I do after every run. And then I'll also show you guys some general strength exercises that I do. So that's going to do it here for me, folks. Hopefully you guys enjoyed this content. And if you did, be sure to like and subscribe. And comment down below if you are trying to break 30 minutes for your next 5K. And also comment when you do actually break it, because I would love to see that. And I would love to be in on your goals when you achieve them. In the meantime, folks, hopefully you guys see the next video and the rest of this series. And you guys enjoy the rest of your day. And until the next one, guys, peace.